Graduates and guests, please remain standing for the national anthem. Please be seated. The invocation today will be given by the University Chaplain, Craig Coker. Chaplain Coker.
Let us pray. Eternal God, we give thanks for these graduates who have finished their course of study. We are grateful for all those who have walked at their side, for the friendships they have made, the insights they have found, the challenges they have overcome, and the knowledge they now possess. Give them a right pursuit of justice and truth. Keep them attentive to conscience, servants of the common good, and gracious and kind to all. Amen.
Dean Perdue, Ms. Davis, distinguished guests, colleagues, parents, friends, and class of 2021. It is my privilege as president to welcome you to the 149th ceremony awarding degrees to graduates of the School of Law as part of the 191st commencement of the University of Richmond. After a year unlike any other, I am grateful for this opportunity to pause and rejoice in each other's company, live and in person. It is truly a pleasure to celebrate with you. Yes, do applaud for that. Very special. It is truly a pleasure to celebrate with you the achievements of our 2021 graduates who have been invaluable members of our community of scholars. It is also a pleasure to welcome to the campus the families and friends of our graduates and to thank you for providing them with the support and guidance they needed to reach this milestone in their lives. I know you are just as excited as we are, and perhaps even more so, to celebrate the culmination of their many years of study. Finally, I want to express my deep appreciation to our faculty and staff for the enduring contributions they have made in the lives of our graduates. Thank you so much for successfully, yes, please applaud. Thank you so much for successfully embracing your roles as teachers, scholars, and mentors, especially these last 3 difficult semesters under the pandemic. Now, graduates, we know that years of hard work have preceded this moment, and we applaud you for your passion, determination, and grace. Many of you have told me of the close bonds you have shared with your classmates, of the detailed attention you've received from the faculty, and of the sense of community that is a hallmark of Richmond Law. We hope your time here has been as fulfilling for you as it has been for us. Today, as we recognize the individual and collective achievements of the class of 2021, we look forward with great hope and anticipation to your continued accomplishments in the years ahead. I am confident that your education has prepared you to make a difference in the world and in the lives of others. And I am grateful that through your service to society, you will help the university to fulfill its mission of promoting justice and common good. Thank you and congratulations.
On behalf of the faculty and staff of the law school, I too welcome you to this degree ceremony for the class of 2021. Graduates, you are part of a very special class that has demonstrated resilience, strength, and grace in the face of great challenge during your law school career. I am proud to join you here to celebrate your graduation. We now turn to our first speaker. In keeping with our tradition of active student involvement, we asked the class to select a student to speak for them at their graduation. This year, they have chosen Zainus D. Talley. Zainus is a native Richmonder, born and raised just south of the river in Midlothian, Virginia. Zainus received his bachelor's degree in politics from Catholic University of America. At the law school, he was president of the St. Thomas More Society, a justice on the Honor Council, and served on the executive board of the Black Law Students Association. He engaged in clinical opportunities at the Richmond City Commonwealth Attorney's Office and worked as legislative director for Virginia State Senator Chapman Peterson. He serves as an advisor to Richmond City Commonwealth's attorneys Colette McEachin. And after graduation, Zainus will begin working at the law firm of Roth, Jackson, Gibson, and Conlon, practicing commercial real estate law. I'm very pleased to present Zainus Talley.
President Crutcher, Dean Perdue, Ms. Davis, members of the faculty and staff, family, friends, and guests who join us both here in Robins Stadium and virtually. And to my friends and fellow graduates of the class of 2021, congratulations, we've made it. I want to begin by issuing a conspicuous disclaimer that I will be departing from the usual and often required form of the CREAC. While we have been trained to write in this form, I hope that our writing professors will give me a pass here today. 3 years ago, each of us was selected from a competitive pool of applicants to begin our legal training here at the University of Richmond School of Law. Dean Michelle Rahman and her team sought to put together not just a class of scholars, but a class of leaders dedicated to their studies, to their loved ones, and to their community. They knew then what we know now, that this is an incredible class made up of truly remarkable people. My classmates need only look to each other to know this to be true. We are 140 unique persons from 28 different states and 3 different countries, graduates of 74 different undergraduate institutions who majored in 46 different areas of study. A number of us, over the last 3 years, have worked for large and small law firms and businesses. Others have worked for state and federal government. Some have spent time working with nonprofits and legal aid. Many have won trial competitions and moot court competitions. Some have published academic writings and commentaries. One wrote a book, and another a short story on the merits of applause. It doesn't stop there. A number of us are intramural flag football champions, craft beer and wine aficionados, moms and dads. One is a member of the clergy, and another even ran for a local state Senate seat in his first year of law school, and somehow convinced a number of his classmates to help on the campaign. But today we share in a common achievement. Today, we earn our law degrees. And so we have now come to that part of the graduation speech where I must talk about the responsibility we now have as lawyers. I kind of knew from a young age that I wanted to be a lawyer. You can blame Law and Order for that. But it wasn't until college that I knew that this was the path for me. One of my religion professors asked the class a somewhat obscure question. He said, who in society is responsible for maintaining the beliefs, the traditions, and values of our people? Is it the teacher, or the historian, the preacher, or the poet? The answer, and it should not surprise you given why we are here today, is it is the lawyer, because our laws define us as a people. This profession we are about to enter is a noble one. Just a few weeks ago, I joined several of our classmates and Professor Walsh for a discussion about a podcast titled, What Makes a Lawyer Good? The speaker eloquently went on to say that a lawyer is one who serves justice and thereby serves the common good. Now, do not let this scare you. I know what you're thinking. I was thinking it too. What does the Uniform Commercial Code have to do with justice? Or what about a fee simple subject to conditions subsequent? What does that have to do with justice? Well, these things make up the law, and the law shows us how to live. And when it's made justly, it serves the common good. So we can thank our professors for teaching us about justice and how to be good lawyers. But as we begin this next chapter of our lives, my hope for each of us is that we remember to also be good people, We are incredibly privileged to be at this school, to learn from these extraordinary professors, to be joined by our family and friends who have been with us every step of this journey. We are here today because we've worked hard for this, but also because we've had some good luck along the way. Hard work and good luck are not mutually exclusive. And as we reflect on this moment, remember that there are those who have not been so lucky, and they may seem to live far away, but many live much closer than that. What this past year has shown us is that life is something to be cherished. The pandemic has affected us in unimaginable ways. Racial injustice has surfaced to the forefront because of the inhumanity of those who have strayed from the good. We have a duty, my friends, not just to serve justice, but to be good, to do good, and to help others do good too. When we are at that age where we have more yesterdays than tomorrows, we may ask ourselves, what is it that we did in this life? I'm quite confident that our answer will not be, that was a well-written lease, or I closed that huge deal. But whatever the answer to that question is, I hope it tells a story of a life well lived, one that is filled with love, one that serves justice and the common good, and one that inspires others to do the same. I'll close with this. These last 3 years have been nothing short of amazing. To be part of this incredible group of individuals has been such a rewarding experience. I don't know about you all, but I'm not the same person I was in August of 2018. I'm starting to lose some of my hair. I haven't slept as well as I used to. Talks with my friends and family who have not gone to law school are now seen by them as an interrogation. I am not sure I have seen a real weekend in the last 3 years. And yes, I will be wearing this cap and gown until I sit for the bar exam. But in all seriousness, it has been a true pleasure getting to know each and every one of you. And I wish you all the very best that life has to offer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zanis, for sharing those reflections. Each year, the students of the graduating class also select a member of the faculty to speak to them at commencement. This year's speaker is Professor Luke Norris. Professor Norris joined the Richmond Law faculty in 2018, an expert in the fields of civil procedure, labor and employment law, and constitutional law. Professor Norris's publications have appeared in the New York Law Review, Fordham Law Review, UC Irvine. His op-eds and other writings appeared in Slate, The Guardian, The Huffington Post. Professor Norris clerked for Judge Robert Thach and Judge Guido Calabresi, both of the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, and was a litigator at Cravath, Swaine & Moore, LLP. He previously served as a visiting professor at Cardozo Law School and a fellow at Columbia Law School. Professor Norris earned his JD from Yale, his master's degree from Oxford on a Rhodes Scholarship, and his BA from Gettysburg College. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you my colleague, Luke Norris.
Thank you, Wendy, and thank you, class of 2021, for the honor of being your graduation speaker. And don't worry, Wendy, I'll do my best to keep it PG-13. This is a special, bittersweet moment for me. You're the class I began with at Richmond Law, and your graduation feels like the end of an era. From the first day the faculty and staff met you, class of 2020. You've exuded brilliance, brightness, good, and sometimes biting humor, and a commitment to bettering yourselves and the world. You've also persevered through something incredibly difficult. Half of your law school career has been consumed by a global pandemic and the tears in our social fabric it has magnified, including our nation's continuing struggle against racism. During these trying times, we found ourselves physically distanced, forced to hide our smiles, and sometimes our pain behind our masks. And as events roiled our nation and city, our usual ways of coming together and healing have been disrupted. You didn't get the light, breezy 3L year that most of you hoped for, where you, now the seniors, could laugh about stressed 1Ls, come to class without even glancing at the reading, and pretend not to hear your professor's cold calls while you shop for those hot new shoes. Okay, you did some of that. I was there for it. But the year wasn't that, which is why we can't deny it. You're not only the class of 2021, you're also the class of COVID-19. I don't mean to deny that you'll be defined as the class of 2021. The number will follow you for the rest of your lives. Hopefully, you'll view it fondly with time. I mean, instead, that it's undeniable that the bulk of your law school career has been profoundly shaped by COVID-19. You're unique in that. What to make of this fact? We can talk about how you all faced remarkable challenges and persevered. That's true. But there's more to say. To suss it out, I'd like to turn to one of the greats, to a piece of art from this year that no doubt scholars will be parsing for generations. I'm speaking, of course, of the song Mask, Gloves, Soap, Scrubs by Todrick Hall. The album, I know it doesn't even need to be said, is aptly titled Quarantine Queen, which, by the way, I was a little sore about because Quarantine Queen was my formal title from March to April of last year. There may be a person or two in the audience who, by virtue of your unfortunate station in life under a rock, doesn't know who Todrick Hall is. Hall is iconic. He's an openly gay, black rapper, singer, songwriter, actor, director, choreographer, and performer who happens to be Taylor Swift's best friend. Seen American Idol? You've seen Todrick. RuPaul's Drag Race? Todrick. Beyonce putting on an impromptu concert in a Target? Todrick made it happen. His signature style will be familiar to those of you who've been in my classroom. Bespoke costumes, too much flair for the air, and dance moves for days. Now, onto the song. I bet you didn't guess that the graduation speech would be a lesson in statutory interpretation, but the text is just too rich. For our rock dwellers, it's worth pointing out a few lyrics so you can see what we're dealing with. Among them are, kitty cat, 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 tell me Carol Baskin, where is the husband, everyone's asking, stimulus check, everybody cashin', mask and glove, yeah, that's a new fashion. There's also a rhyming series that includes some of the following lyrics set to the backdrop of celebrities cleaning their houses. Mop for me, mop. Tongue pop for me, pop. Now spray for me, spray. Stay away from me, away. I know, genius. But the real question is, what can this song tell us as we reflect on your last 3 years and your futures? Mask, gloves, soap, scrubs. These 4 words say a lot about where you've been and offer some lessons you can take with you as you move on to your next stage. Start with masks. I know we're all ready to be done with them, but they represent recognizing we're part of a community, that we owe obligations to one another. But here's the thing. Masking doesn't work nearly as well if just one party does it. And that's in part because a mask doesn't just protect you, it protects others. Masking properly requires a communal commitment. You're about to leave this law school community and enter various others, your workplace, your state bar, various groups you may join, and the various larger communities of lawyers, including alumni of this law school. The experience of masking can tell you something about what it means to belong to and seek to change those communities, especially if you find them, as many of you will, deeply in need of reform. Your time masking can remind you that the hardest part is not putting on your own mask. That's, to be clear, that's important. But perhaps more important is getting others in the community to want to do the same. That means using your skills to create an environment of mutual care and respect. Your mask isn't just the fashion statement of your 3L year. It's a reminder that the hardest work of change is between and among us. Next, gloves. Todrick in the music video wears hot pink, long latex leather gloves, reminding us that quarantine queening can be fashionable, an act of self-expression. You all may not have the luxury of wearing such gloves to work. They'd probably make writing briefs pretty difficult. But we all have forms of identity and expression that are core to who we are. And the legal profession is hardly one that celebrates or often lets us bring those things with us as lawyers. Your class has demonstrated a burgeoning commitment to challenging this, to creating a profession that welcomes all of us and all parts of us. Creating such a profession in the years ahead will be hard work. You'll hopefully find ways that are your own to contribute to the project. But there's also a lesson we can take away from Todrick. He never asked for permission. He simply shows up with all of himself, hot pink leather latex gloves and all, and invites us to accept and love him. Doing so, he reminds us that we all have within us the seeds of our own kind of bravery, that in our own ways we can put on our hot pink gloves. Third, there's soap. Soap represents self-care. If you're a lawyer who's always carrying the grief of the world with no time for yourself, you'll quickly burn out. But if you're a lawyer who takes the good days with the bad, who becomes accustomed to the reality of a long fight for justice, you'll almost surely be stronger. So let me say this clearly. You deserve to take care of yourself. And from time to time, although I hope not every day, I hope you'll follow Todrick when he says, I don't go to work, work. I don't leave, I stay, stay. I don't care, I eat, 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 and sleep all day. Finally, scrubs. I come from a family of nurses who proudly wear their scrubs. So when I think of scrubs, I think of putting care into action. Our society needs care right now. We're consumed not just by one virus. There are also the viruses of racism, xenophobia, sexism, transphobia and homophobia, socioeconomic inequality, mutual distrust and sometimes hatred, and more. It's a daunting time to be a young lawyer. But I think your law school experience, being the class of COVID-19, has prepared you in a unique way for these challenges. Unlike so many graduating classes, you have become accustomed to grief as part of your law school education. It's entwined with your very development as lawyers. Grief, we all know, is wearying, but it can also be powerful. It can engender empathy and solidarity. By breaking our hearts, grief can open them. Communities like yours, class of 2021, formed and forged in shared grief, are powerful. Even as you find brighter days ahead, and you will, the stinging memory of these past couple of years can be a clarion call to be the kinds of colleagues, the kinds of lawyers, and the kinds of citizens who are attuned to grief in the world and develop that awesome and underutilized capacity of healing. Healing, like care, that's not a word we hear very much in our law school classrooms. but it's something we all need right now, and a vaccine can't give us the full supply we require. Here's the thing. We can only give it to ourselves, and we can only give it to one another. The best lawyers know how to disrupt, but also how to care and heal, how to take the problems of their era, problems they very often did not create, and turn them into a destiny of purpose and transformation, one that replaces pain and grief with the healing balms of progress. Class of 2021, as your faculty and staff, we've experienced the struggles of these past couple of years alongside you. And it is precisely because we have been with you, have seen you, and because we love you, that we believe you can use all of your intelligence and all of your goodness, all of your skills and all of your virtue to chart the challenging path ahead. Just remember to put on your mask, gloves, soap, and scrubs.
Thank you so much, Professor Norris, for your insights and for your many contributions to the school. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Rita Davis, a graduate of the school from the class of 2000. Rita Davis is counsel to Governor Ralph Northam of Virginia. Prior to joining the governor's office, she worked for nearly 15 years at Hunt & Williams, now Hunt & Andrews Kurth, where she covered a broad range of commercial disputes on international, federal, state, and local level. While in private practice, she was a bar leader and a recognized pro bono lawyer, devoting more than 1,300 hours to pro bono clients. While serving as chief counsel to the governor, Ms. Davis has worked to facilitate the governor's initiatives to eliminate racial and social inequalities in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And, like all of us, she's had a very interesting last year. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Dean Perdue, President Crutcher, Chaplain Coker, and Dean Price. Good afternoon. Me again. Congratulations, graduating class of 2021. Wow, like what have you been up to since we talked in 2018? The last time we were together, you were a few days into your law school career, and I was a few months into my tenure as chief counsel to the governor. I took the job after many years in practice and a few years as a cop on the beat, working undercover, enforcing law and order in Lynchburg, in a small town not too far from here to the west. But it all feels like a lifetime ago. If you were listening 3 years ago, I hope I gave you some great wisdom. I encouraged you to use your time in law school to think about who you are. What are your strengths, your passions? I told you that the purpose of law school is to equip you with the tools to go out into the world and help those who need those tools. I advise that every interaction brings opportunity, but you have to be flexible to seize it. You have to adapt because opportunity often lays in wait. Look for it with your heart, but be ready for it in your mind. I caution that opportunity is wasted if you are not prepared for it. Now, all that is pretty standard stuff to kick off a school year or even to finish it. And it's all still true. You should do all of that stuff. But as I was looking over my notes recently, I realized I had left out a page. And that page said, "Stand ready for a global pandemic." Protests in the streets, an insurrection against the United States. And just to be clear, none of that is standard stuff. And yet, here we are. We all know what has changed over the last 3 years. Everything and nothing. 3 years ago, there was no way to predict that a once-in-a-century pandemic would ravage the country, halting life as we know it, bringing our economy to its knees, isolating us from our friends, our loved ones, and taking the lives of more than 500,000 Americans. Or that 20 million people would lose their jobs, or that the president would be impeached, not once, but twice. Over this time, we have been horrified by mass shootings in synagogues and schools and places of business. Even here in the Commonwealth, we lost 13 lives in Virginia Beach. We have seen civil unrest erupt across this nation in response to the deaths of Black Americans in the hands of law enforcement. National Guard troops faced off against protesters, businesses damaged, property ruined. I suppose it's a good thing that the 2020 election boasted the highest voter turnout in American history. But it's hard to know what message voters sent as fissures of political disagreement expanded into fractures of tribalism. And then after all of that, Americans stormed and ransacked the United States Capitol, one of the most treasured symbols of American democracy, a building that hadn't been breached since the War of 1812. That's not what you signed up for when you started law school. But you made it. And I hope that makes today even sweeter. Law school is challenging, even under the best of circumstances. But you faced it down. The world upended around you, you nevertheless persisted. You maintained your focus, you pressed ahead, and you did what needed to be done. And you did that because that is what lawyers do. That hasn't changed. For all that has changed over the past 3 years, a few things have stayed the same, like the fundamental role of a lawyer. Lawyers endeavor to bring order to chaos. We assess, adapt, problem solve. We find a path forward. We persevere. That has not and will never change. And the fact that you survived one of the most challenging educational experiences and did so during perhaps the most trying economic, social, and political era in modern history evidences your readiness to be a lawyer. Which leads me to Sun Tzu, the ancient philosopher and military strategist. In The Art of War, Sun Tzu states, "In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity." If Sun Tzu had experienced the past year, he might say it differently. He might say, in the midst of this chaos, opportunities exist to use your legal tools to bring order, security, certainty to someone's life, opportunities to effect transformational change in your community. You have seen that over the past 14 months, the COVID-19 pandemic laid bare inequalities long entrenched in our education, housing, and healthcare systems. The pandemic and the social justice movement have compelled us to confront inequities in our criminal justice system and have forced us to have difficult but long overdue discussions about history, culture, racial reconciliation, and inclusion. The path forward is not clear. And the legal profession needs you. Our country needs you. They need your passion, your perseverance, your energy, and your perspective. We need your voice. We need the wisdom of people who have experienced the past year and learned from it. We need people who can look at the world through many lenses at once. Because society is changing. In the midst of this chaos, Virginia seized the opportunity to make change. In the last year, Virginia became the first state in the South to abolish the death penalty. It enacted its own Voting Rights Act, and it legalized simple possession of marijuana. A few more weeks. Virginia recognized Juneteenth as a state holiday and eliminated Lee Jackson Day, which celebrated the Confederacy. Virginia banned no-knock search warrants, limited the use of neck restraints by law enforcement, and enacted common-sense gun control. And all across the Commonwealth, memorials to the Confederacy and to segregationists came down. There's one more to go. I'm proud to think I played some small role in those changes. And I know that not everyone agrees with them, but I do. And I would also observe that these changes were made by elected officials representing a majority of Virginians. And I am confident that the laws behind these changes are stronger because many voices helped to craft them. And I say that as a lawyer, and I say that as a former police officer, a mom, and the great-great-granddaughter of formerly enslaved people. This Virginia is not the Virginia of 3 years ago, and it is an exciting place to be. You are entering a profession at the very center of the manifestation of this change, the law. Law is the mechanism by which society implements its shared values. It pronounces what conduct is acceptable, and it prescribes the consequences for the conduct that is not. A lawyer's purpose is to ensure that those governed by the law are fairly treated under it. However, a lawyer's true power lies in the ability to transform complex commercial concepts, complicated facts, intricate procedures into real-world outcomes. Outcomes like access to clean air and drinking water, or saving someone's home from foreclosure, or helping someone get a fresh financial start, or protecting someone's right to raise a family, or not to raise a family. These are all fundamental and precious things. So a lawyer's job is to advocate and to look at a problem from many perspectives and to exercise wisdom and judgment. And as you move forward, you will find that not everyone can do that. So here's what this means for you. You are now a lawyer. So people are going to trust you to help them protect what is most dear. They're going to look to you for guidance and leadership. And this will be true outside of the courtroom, outside of the boardroom, outside of the office. Once people find out you are a lawyer, you are the lawyer. You are the arbiter of the bingo game disputes, the backup referee at your kid's soccer game, and the mediator at family arguments. People will assume you're smart, fair, reasonable, professional, and trustworthy, and you must be all of these things all of the time. And that will never change. There is a sort of symmetry in that I spoke to you during your orientation, and I'm speaking to you now during your commencement. But today represents a little symmetry for me as well. I began my legal career many years ago sitting at this very same ceremony. My sisters were here, my brothers-in-law, my best friends from college, my future husband, my future mother-in-law, and friends of my family. My father was here too. He's gone now, and I miss him very much. But all of those people came to witness something I had claimed in 4th grade. They all came to say, in word and in action, "We love you." Today, I can now see that it was an inflection point in my life. The end of law school started me on an amazing adventure. Since that day, I've worked in private practice and government, in a big law firm and a medium-sized law firm. I've been an associate, I've been counsel, I've been a full-time attorney, a reduced hour attorney. I've litigated from Ohio to the UK. I've clerked for a federal judge, and I've counseled a governor. Most important of all, I got married and raised a family. And all of that brought me right back here to you. So now, having come full circle, I'd like to share a couple of thoughts before I send you off. Lesson number 1, speak less, listen more, think harder. You cannot listen while you are speaking. And we all know that the loudest person in the room is rarely the smartest person in the room. Moreover, you need to think before you speak, so that when you speak, people will listen to you because they believe you are a thinker. Second lesson, assume there is something you do not know, because there will always be something you do not know. As lawyers, you're going to study, you're going to prepare, you're going to anticipate, and you're going to worry, but there will always be something you do not anticipate. Expect it, but do not let the unknown incapacitate you. Third, challenge what you think you know. As your training has taught you, critical thinking is essential in the legal profession, but develop a routine of reevaluating what you believe and why. Lesson number 4, do not rush to judgment. I understand in a world of an incessant news cycle and the insistency of social media, the pressure to act, to say something, to speak, to weigh in is tempting. Reject that impulse. Remember that with this Juris Doctorate, with this bar license that you're going to get, comes an expectation of discretion and good judgment that may not apply to others. You must be measured, contemplative, always mindful of the weight and impact of your words. Show dignity and respect to others, especially when others fail to do so. Finally, be skeptical and kind. The rules of professional conduct require that you represent your client zealously. The legal profession's long-standing tradition of collegiality obligates you to be civil and fair. As the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg once said, you can disagree without being disagreeable. A good lawyer can do both of these things. But please remember that your humanity compels you to also be empathetic. And a great lawyer can do all three. The challenges you faced to get to this point in your career will not be the last you encounter. To overcome them, you will need the same strength that you have demonstrated over the last 3 years. That is okay, because you've been equipped with the tools and skills and the knowledge to navigate those future challenges. You will be ready. Trust and believe that. Believe in your training and trust in your instinct. Know that you will make mistakes. That is okay. That is how you grow. Be not afraid. Your legal training and fortitude, coupled with a strong moral compass, will guide you to the right course, to the right answers. And when you need to navigate those storms to come, or you are called upon to help others navigate them, you will not lose your way. At this moment, my heart swells for you. Despite the chaos, the opportunities available to you are limited only by your belief that they exist and your preparation for them. So, I salute you, the University of Richmond School of Law graduate class of 2021, and I am proud to send you off. Oh, wait! I have one more thing I need to say, and this was something I actually found in some of my notes from 3 years ago. But this is a really important lesson. Call your mother. Call your father. Call your grandparent, your auntie, your uncle. Call someone you love today, this afternoon, and tell them this. Tell them thank you and I love you. Tell them that because you did not get here on your own. None of us made it through the last year on our own. Other people carried us, even when we did not see it. Other people cleared the way. Other people made this moment possible for you. You stand on their shoulders, and now it is up to you to lift the next person. That starts with a few simple words. Thank you, and I love you. It will do you good to say it, and it will touch someone else to hear it. That may be more important than being a great lawyer. And with that, class of 2021, welcome to the profession. May this day be the greatest adventure of your life. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your remarks, Ms. Davis. And now I'd like to introduce Associate Dean Jack Price, who will present student honors and awards.
It is with great pleasure that we turn now to recognize those graduates who have been chosen by the law school faculty as recipients of the following awards. Please stand and be recognized if your name is called. The recipient of the American Bankruptcy Institute Medal of Excellence is Eudora F.S. Author. There are two recipients of the Oswald Jackson Jr. Award for Excellence in Intellectual Property, Lindsay Ann Sweetgall Brock and Arlington Garrett Kelly. The recipient of the Family Law Section of the Virginia State Bar and the Virginia chapter of the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers Award is Eleanor Grace Pittman. The recipient of the International Academy of Trial Lawyers is Emma Ann Cleary. There are three recipients of the Law Faculty Award for Intellectual Property: Harrison A. Tisdale, Dylan M. Phillips, and Mohammed Albatain. There are also three recipients of the Law Faculty Award for Labor and Employment Law: Oliver Thomas Ward, Monica J. Maloof, James Lincoln Wolf. The recipient of the National Association of Women Lawyers Award is Samantha Rachel Galena. This year, we'll welcome the following 10 students to the Order of the Barristers, the National Honorary Organization of Oral Advocacy and Brief Writing Skills. Please hold your applause till I've read all 10 names. Christina Lacey Alcorta, Sidney Ballman III, Emma Ann Cleary, Mary Margaret Hawkins, Juliana Lauren Mealy, Thomas Tyler Moses, Dana Jean Rafferty, Tabitha Morgan Soberdash, Stephen J. Walker, and Carly R. Wright. There are 3 recipients of the Oral Brown Award for Clinical Excellence in the Children's Law Center. Samantha Dardick Meyer, Julia Grace Ziegler, Olivia Denon Sikinski, the recipient of the Public Interest Law Association Pro Bono Award is Eudora F.S. Arthur. The recipient of the Virginia Bar Association Tax Award is Thomas Tyler Moses. The recipient of the Virginia State Bar Section on Criminal Law Award is Mary Margaret Hawkins. The recipient of the Virginia Trial Lawyers Association Award is Dana Jean Rafferty. The recipient of the Excellence in Legal Scholarship Award is James Lincoln Wolf. This year, we're launching 2 new awards. There are 2 recipients for the inaugural Excellence in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Award, Katura J. Francis and Julia Grace Ziegler. Our second new award, the Racial Justice and Anti-Racism Advocate Award, also has 2 recipients, Courtney Maria Weaver and Christian E. Jones. The Professor Nina Ricky Keston Award is awarded by the faculty to the student or students that have shown extraordinary contributions to the school, the community, and the profession. This year, we're honoring 2 students with this award, Katura J. Francis and Courtney Maria Weaver. Finally, we're also honoring 2 students with the Charles T. Norman Award for Best All-Around Graduating Students, James Ewell Brown Stewart VI and Jamie H. Wood. Thank you very much.
Graduation is a very special occasion because it gives the university an opportunity to recognize those who have completed the requirements of the faculty and who have fulfilled the expectations of the entire university community. Our warm congratulations go to all of these members of the University of Richmond School of Law Class of 2021. I now call on Provost Jeff LeGros.
Will the the graduating class please rise? Mr. President, on behalf of the faculty of the University of Richmond School of Law, I have the honor to present these candidates for the degrees of Masters of Laws and Juris Doctor.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, and upon the faculty's recommendation of completed requirements, I confer upon you the degree of Masters of Law and Juris Doctor of the University of Richmond with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Will the members of the graduating class please be seated? Individual students, please stand and be recognized as your name and slide is shown. And members of the audience, please feel free to recognize your graduate, and hopefully you will do so promptly before the next slide is shown.
Raphael A. Adante, Olivia Faye Ackle, Mohammed bin Abdulaziz Al Babtain, Christina Lacey Al Corta, Jacob S. Alexander, Parker Edward Allen, Yusef Suleiman Alumeri, Eudora F. S. Arthur, James R. Austin II, Michael Nader Badar, Brandon Kyler Baker, Sidney Ballman III, Morgan Haley Barnes, Sean M. Barrick, Taylor Nicole Beck, Gunnar Stonewall Bedford, Mitchell Alexander Beebe, Allison R. Bennett, Nadim B. Bosali, Grace Havard Bowen, Zachary Parks Brown, Mary Brett Campbell, Nicholas J. Colley, Brian P. Clark, Emma Ann Cleary, Sarah Catherine Clemens, Amelia Grace Collins, Cassidy May Crockett Verba, Riley Rose Sear, William Buchanan DeBoard, Sophia Patrice Diamond, Diana C. Dominguez, Taylor Marie Donnelly, Brianne Nicole Donovan, Karena Joy Idom, Sogund Falahatpour, Syed Mohammed Fawad, Gemma Michelle Fern, Alyssa Brianne Federolf, Katura J. Francis, Samantha Rachel Galena, Jessica Fawn Gardner,
William MacArthur Garnett, Jr.,
Emily Marie Geindhart, Joseph Aaron Goldman, Jalen A. Gray, Jacob Paul Grosso, Evan P. Harmon, Patrick J. Harris, Mary Margaret Hawkins, Jackson B. Hicks, Michelle Elizabeth Hoffer, Max E. Holland, Caitlin M. Hoppengardner, Chandler Lee Huffer Elder, John Arch Irvin, Troy R. Johnson Jr., Christian E. Jones, Arlington Garrett Kelly, Erin Lee Kidd, Christopher R. Kim, Ziada Kroc, Wapyong Lee, Ryan Altham Leonard, Siyao Lin, Anna Volodymyrivna Lugovoy, Patrick Cameron Mocker, Elizabeth Eve Mahoney, Monica J. Maloof, Sheridan T. Maxey, John McLeod McInnes III, Rebecca A. Meadows, Juliana Loren Mealy, Samantha Dardick Meyer, Wesley Ray Morgan, Sarah Elizabeth Morrison, Thomas Tyler Moses, William B. Nash, Andrew James Naughton, Jacob R. Newton, Chung Wing Kevin Eng, Natalie Nguyen, Marin Alyssa Overbeck. Gregory W. Packer, Jr. Joshua A. Peel. Delaney Paulette Perdue. Daniel Philip Payton. Dylan M. Phillips. Eleanor Grace Pittman. Victoria Nicole Pivorato. Constantine Emmanuel Politis. Kelly Ann Quinn. Dana Jean Rafferty. Tyler A. Rankin. Derek Christian Regal. Christopher William Robertson. Izoro Rodriguez. Matthew V. Romano. Samuel Andrew Rosenblatt. James William Rawson.
Joseph Anthony Rugari.
Abigail Marie Russo. Tyler Andrew Sanders. Daisha N. C. Schwier. Stephanie L. Seibert. Olivia Denon Sikinski. Davina Ariana Sia Parson. Samuel Lee Schaefer. Faze Taras Shaheen. Nancy Y. Simpson. Catherine Ryan Snyder. Tabitha Morgan Soberdash. Franklin Lee Stanfield, Jr. Michael Patrick Stalin. James Ewell Brown Stewart VI. Lindsay Ann Sweetgull Brock. Zanus Daquan Talley. Samantha Erin Teets. Harrison A. Tisdale. Kristen Brett Talbert. Samantha Lynn Van Winter. Laurel E. Villa. Trevor J. Vonu. Peter Byron Wagner. Stephen J. Walker. Anne Marie Walther. Oliver Thomas Ward. Courtney Maria Weaver. Rachel Whalen. Lucy S. Weigard. Ethan Maddox Wiley. Michael Kitizak Wilgus. Adam B. Winston, James Lincoln Wolfe, Jamie H. Wood, Carly R. Wright, Richard R. Coleman Wyro, Yuyue Zhang, Julia Grace Ziegler,
Graduates and guests, join me in saluting the graduating class of 2021. Let me briefly address the class of 2021. Each of you has worked very hard for this accomplishment, but you did not do so alone. You stood on the shoulders of parents and grandparents, spouses, siblings, and friends. I therefore ask the class of 2021 to rise and acknowledge all of those people who did so much to help you get here. This concludes the graduation ceremony. Will the mace bearer please come retrieve the mace? Please remain seated for the recessional. Thank you and good afternoon.